On a mission to collect every possible item and mob in the game of Minecraft, members of the ProtoTech SMP server discovered the need to control lightning strikes. In order to collect skeleton horsemen wearing very rare armor, they would need to dictate exactly where and when lightning will strike and create a collection device to keep these extremely rare mobs in. Let's join the ProtoTech members now as they describe how they were able to accomplish such an amazing feat.
Next up, let's check out the lightning farm, which is also a RNG-based farm.
First thing we need to do is to manipulate the weather, so we have a thunderstorm.
Yes,
otherwise
we're trying
lightning
to get
farm
lightning.
would do nothing. So you can see a lot of redstone instant wires going off into the distance. And all of those are connected with a dropper that faces into a nether portal. And what that's doing is if you trigger the line, it shoots an item into the overworld and loads chunks. And loading those chunks is the same thing again. It manipulates the world RNG. And this way we can, if we do this one tick before the game decides to change the weather, then we can manipulate how long the weather will last. This machine here is just a timing device that if you trigger it, it will create a perfect cycle. So it will thunder like every 10 minutes or so, or every 20 minutes for 10 minutes.
You're kind of like tricking the game into thinking like, hey, today's supposed to be a thunderstorm instead of a sunny day.
Basically, anytime the game generates a random number, you just tell it what it is.
Maybe you have realized that when you sleep in a bed, that then the weather always stays nice and sunny for a while. Did you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, sleeping in a bed actually resets the weather, and we use that. In the overworld here, there's a bed, and it has an observer attached to it, which detects when you start sleeping, and that turns on this device here. Yeah,
So-
when you start sleeping, the game has some time to send a signal over to the nether and turn this machine on so that it just starts doing its work in the right moment.
Now on the backside of this big nether portal, you can see how we're sending signals through. We're using minecarts to send information through the nether portal into the overworld to time stuff very precisely.
Again, just to keep in mind, this was all done in survival.
Yeah, essentially anybody can do this in their world. You don't need
It's thundering right now. Turn on the horses. It's thundering, Ray.
Oh, except they're not gonna.
Oh, it's
They're not
not
gonna
going
end
to
up in
work
the right
right.
spot.
There's too many players in the overworld here too.
It's definitely a work in progress. Like whenever you come up with something new, you obviously learn a lot while you're designing it, and it was definitely a learning process for us. We kept like learning better, easier ways of doing the same thing that we're doing now. But yeah, we're essentially in the overworld. This is where the lightning will strike. If it was on, it actually will strike in a single chunk above this. And we actually had to design this weird contraption that we're standing on to actually kind of harvest the lightning, which is a pretty crazy thing to see when it's activated. But it's very difficult too because it's player position. So if players stay in the wrong spot, it can actually ruin it and very weird stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
But essentially, all those cobble walls are kind of like the very top of it. And lightning will strike them. And then what will happen is we actually also manipulate lightning strikes to always produce trapped horsemen. So we get those crazy guys that will explode and try to shoot you. So we get horses spawning up there. They'll fall down. We got this funnel of doom, as Xerex likes to call it, to shove everything into the center. There's a player that'll be kind of nearby, which will activate them, switch them from over a normal skeleton horse over into those horsemen with the skeletons on top of them.
Also, you may realize this giant chunk of lava over there.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. What's with all the lava?
That was Earth Computer Space. We griefed it.
Can I fly over it?
There's over 400,000
not.
blocks of lava inside there.
Oh my gosh.
Nice.
You can see it on the
That
map
must
right
take
here.
I could explain the real reason if you like.
Go ahead, Earth.
Okay, so basically, you know how I said before that you have to go to a very specific location to get what you want to happen?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the problem is that lightning striking is so unlikely And even if a lightning strikes, getting it to spawn a horse is also very unlikely. So we'd have to go out a whole ton of blocks, right? Like
Millions of blocks away from spawn.
Maybe it was 100,000, but yeah, it's very far. So instead, what we do is we can reset the RNG and then call it a bunch of times, like waste some of its random numbers, move it further in the sequence to where we want. And it turns out that during the random ticking, which is like, for example, crop growth or lava fire spreading, that kind of thing. Lava will move the randomizer along in its sequence by like a particular amount, and so we have a lot of lava here to move the randomizer. I think it was 10,000 in its sequence or something.
So you have like one chunk of lava to move it one time each, right?
One sub-chunk of lava.
Okay, so every 16 by 16 by 16 area, we'll move it by once.
Yeah, is it more complicated? Yeah, of course. All of this is.
It actually calls the random number generator a random number of times. So
yeah, but that random number of times is also what we can control. So
yeah,
it's more of a pain to like in the back end, but
a lot of technical talk. In the end result is forcing the lightning to only spawn in a single chunk. So if you like check your chunks, you can see that this whole top section is all in one chunk.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And so we know lightning is going to strike here, so we can kind of minimize where we're collecting our horses. And yeah, after they come by the player, he opens them up. He will hit them with a sword, and this will make them like a player kill. And then they will die. Then they'll be dropped downwards, and then we kind of kill anything that doesn't die, because stuff can have armor. We've actually did a 24-hour live stream of this, so I think we got over 52 full diamond geared skeletons.
Wow.
During Halloween, we do a 24-hour live stream to try and tame some really rare mobs, which we'll show you. Yes, come down here. It's kind of crowded because essentially during 24-hour live stream, everybody's restricted to a very small area. If you go outside this area, you can manipulate where the skeletons actually spawn. It can crash the server in like just a matter of seconds, because it produces over 110,000 skeletons per hour. During our 24-hour live stream, we just concentrated on the skeleton horses, and some of them are extremely rare as 1 in a billion, and we try to tame those. There's a lot of weird glitches to do with these guys. Essentially, a lot of their gear is given to them twice, and this makes things that shouldn't be possible in survival. Like you can get protection 8 helmets in survival, and they actually work too. Like they're super powerful. That's the highest protection you can actually get in the game of Minecraft by having one of those helmets on. It'll max it out. You won't be able to get any higher than that. So it's actually kind of a cool thing to try to obtain. And we are trying to do that. That's why underneath of this kind of weird chute, we have a helmet sorter. It's very strange, but essentially we can get closer. There is 4 zombies that are able to pick up loot inside this little lava pit at the very bottom.
Oh, yep. See them. Okay.
Yeah, if they find a helmet that's better than theirs, they'll be able to grab it. And then we will, anything else they don't grab will just destroy the lava. And then we have a little, some mechanisms with redstone to be able to get the helmets back from them. And that's what that chest was underneath. But we took a lot of the cool helmets over to our museum, where we have all our rare items, cool pieces off of them, which is unique to Halloween, which is these jack-o'-lantern heads and pumpkin heads. So jack-o'-lanterns are completely unique to Halloween. That's the only time you can obtain them. Out of 365 days in a year, you only have 1 day to obtain it. That's why we did this 24-hour live stream, and we got quite a few. But there's only a 2.5% chance of getting a jack-o'-lantern head on a skeleton. And then, of course, you start adding other things on, like armor, and that just gets more rare and more rare. But where I'm standing is our best one we got so far.
Oh.
This guy has a diamond on him.
Yeah.
He has 2 pieces of diamond, which is really, really rare. Oh, I forgot to mention the big stone thing underneath of us. That is a mob farm, and we actually push mobs very quickly to the center with pistons, and then we have a bunch of armor stands which work like lightning rods, and then we can slightly move the player over by a couple pixels, and then it'll direct the lightning over here, and we can strike these armor stands at the exact same time we got the mobs positioned underneath of them, and then if there's any creepers, they'll make them charge creepers.
Mm.
So we can get some charged creepers from there. And we got a little automated system underneath, which will automatically kind of put them in a situation where they'll try to shoot an iron golem. They end up hitting like a skeleton will try to shoot an iron golem, ends up hitting a creeper, and they kind of blow up on themselves. And we get mob skulls. So it's like a automatic mob skull farm without using tridents.
Right, yeah. Because were tridents in the game at this point? In 112?
Nope.
Right, you guys
Nope.
didn't have the tridents, so...
I remember them being introduced and I'm thinking, oh, they've ruined our fun, haven't they?
Oh, and here we
But
did it the
yeah.
hard way.
At least tridents can't spawn skeleton horses.
yeah, that's
Oh yeah,
true.
we also need those armor stands here in order for the lightning to not spawn any horses. Otherwise, this area would just get flooded with horses.
So yeah, there's quite a few different types of farms in this area. But the hearts, like what makes the machine work, is very similar to the orangey machine. So if we look the opposite direction of the lava, there's actually a bunch of redstone. A little bit different, but very similar to what you see in the other one. We have a machine that tells when the server does his autosave. We have a little clock to keep track of that time, and then we put a lot of updates through a bunch of observers and rails.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially we can constantly be loading chunks. And someone made like a little skyblock a little skyblock thing here.
Yeah, we appreciate that, that's for sure. Because
Oh,
Lynette
yeah,
and I
that
love our
was just-
skyblock.
And there's like a floating sand island over there.
That
direction.
was just them jumping around we did while
Yeah.
building this.
That's great.